Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! So, I'm in my 60s. My grandniece is turning 20, doing ridiculously well in college, and I bought her lunch and a tank of gas at the local sandwich shop, the convenience store, while she had time passing between home and college. If she makes the dean's list, I pay 90% or more of her student debt, and I give her cash for expenses if she keeps her grades up and stays out of trouble. I'm in a position to do this and have for all the nieces/nephews, grandnieces, and nephews. We kept getting the side eye, then outright stares from a 4-person group of middle-aged women a couple tables over. She gave me a hug and kiss on the cheek, told me she loved me, and went out to fill her tank while I went up to the counter to wait until she hung up the pump so I could pay. We drove separately, and I wasn't in any particular rush to get anywhere. These women came to the counter and freaked out, calling me everything from a pedophile to a sugar daddy, accusing me of human trafficking, and I made the mistake of engaging long enough to tell them that it was my grandniece. So then it turned into incest, pedophile, human trafficker. I wouldn't say crap after that. No point at all in arguing with idiots. They actually blocked the door so I couldn't leave, and raised such a commotion the convenience store people called the police. But they wouldn't call the police. So when the police got there, they mobbed him. I had to wait until 2 other officers showed up to give my story. Then I called my grandniece and let the officer talk to her. This took about 25 minutes before the police showed up, and over 50 minutes for me to be free to leave. But the hysterical women were still blocking the door. The officer finally threatened to put them in handcuffs before they unplugged the door so I could leave. I filled out the complaint suggested by one of the officers for unlawful detainment. Unlawfully detained. I don't know how this will go, but why not, since they screamed bloody murder, detained me for almost an hour, raised hell in the convenience store for an hour, and did this in a small town I have to live in. Talking and laughing, driving away in her own vehicle, getting a side hug and kiss on the cheek makes me a pedophile or human trafficker. No matter what the police told them, they wouldn't stop. I was an IT contractor for a company doing a large new project. There were about 30 people writing code. We were allowed as much overtime as we were willing to work, and I could use the money. I was working 12 hours 5 days a week. On the weekends, I would go racing, usually out of state. It was common on Thursday to get called into a meeting saying we needed to work 8 hours Saturday and 4 on Sunday. Most people would have 52 hours in total. I would do it if available, putting me at 72 or 76 since 4 hours is too bit. Other times I would point out that I would already be at 60 and have plans. I was given an exception the first couple times, then I was told I was not being a team player. So I clarify. If I work 12 hours between 5 p.m. Friday and 9 a.m. Monday, is that good? Yes? Well, okay then. I left the office at 9 p.m. on Friday, 4 of the 12 down. The race trailer was already loaded up and ready to go. I headed out in the morning for a 4-hour drive. After the race I headed back, since I was driving near the office and the parking lot was empty. I pulled in trailer and all around 3 a.m. and I figured just badging in wasn't enough to demonstrate compliance. I sent an email out to the group with every task I completed. I completed everything I had been assigned. There was a whiteboard with unassigned tasks. I sent an email that I was pulling a task. Then another when completed. I had my full hours in at 11 a.m. I was being witty. However, I didn't really expect the manager to get as annoyed about it as he did. A bit later, my contract was cut by that manager for my abrasive personality. The fallout seems to have been against me, but not in the end. My contract was cut. I was told on Thursday morning and given the next 3 full weeks' notice. By Thursday afternoon, I had a job interview scheduled for Monday. By Monday afternoon, I had a couple more scheduled. I started a new position with no gap. This is pretty much the malicious compliance. Below is a fallout from the retaliation. The manager blamed the abrasive personality comment on the business. They are the people asking for and defining the project. I only worked with one. During my notice, I was working with her, and I said something about someone else having to do the next phase. She says, "Yeah, that sucks." After giving the cab butt face, I told her that I was told the business wanted me gone. Since she was the only business I dealt with, wavy hand motion. She just got a pissed look and stormed off. Her anger went up the org tree and back down my branch. Manager was told I want OP on this project. Deal with it. I had multiple people, HR, manager peers and so on, ask me if I wanted to stay. They would have to make the crab hit the fan to do so. They didn't want to do that if I was leaving anyway. I said I already had accepted an offer. I just wished he had to be the one to ask me to stay. He was made to ask me if I could extend the notice period to provide training sessions on my techniques. So I said, "So you want my productivity, just not me?" "Well, yeah." "No, I'm already scheduled to start a new position." During my notice, 12 people found new positions and gave their notice. The attitude was that if the company was willing to cut me, they could cut anyone at any time. They would rather leave on their terms. That was not a problem for coders at that particular point in time. I was still working 60 hours a week during my notice period. On my last day, when leaving, the only person still there was that manager's boss. When I said bye, he said he had meant to talk to me before I left. I sat down and talked. I said, "You must be wondering why I will be working late on my last day. I wanted the section of software I was on to be working before I left, so no one could blame me for it not getting done." I said I was the only one left in the last few months who was working on it. All the tests had passed that day. Another section with similar work has 6 people working on it and is not done. He began to question the manager's decision-making. He thanked me and said he may reach out in the future. A couple months later, someone reached out to me to see if I would come back. The manager's contract was cut, as were the other 3 people from his contract house. An employee who was buddies with the manager was moved off the project. Apparently, since the manager was also a contractor, it would not technically cut my contract. It was done by this employee. I didn't go back as my new abrasive personality manager, and I got along great. I'm a young woman working at the local store in my small town. I grew up here and know many of the customers who come in. I love my job as a cashier. It allows me to interact with the community and earn some money while I'm in college. I have a friendly attitude and I always try to provide excellent customer service. However, one day a new customer called Karen came into the store. It was immediately obvious to all of us that she was from out of town and didn't belong to our secluded community. And my job suddenly became a lot harder. As soon as Karen walked in, she started complaining about everything. "This store is so disorganized, I can't find anything." I tried to help her. "Do you need help finding anything in particular?" She replied with, "No one ever helps me. Can't you see that I'm busy?" She says that with a dismissive tone. I decided to just show her where some of the things were and let her do her shopping. After she finished and I rung up her items, she said, "These prices are ridiculous. Can't you do something about it?" I replied, "I'm sorry about that, ma'am, but the prices are set by the store management. Is there anything else I can assist you with?" But she said, "No, just give me my total." As I started to bag her items, she interrupted me. "Can I have a discount? I shop here a lot." I apologize, but we have a store policy of not giving discounts unless it's a promotion or sale that is happening. We can provide you with a loyalty card that can earn you points towards discounts. But she said, "That's ridiculous. I should be getting a discount just for being a good customer," was a sarcastic tone. Throughout the whole interaction, Karen's attitude was dismissive, condescending, and entitled. It was clear that she was not happy with anything and made it hard for me to provide her with good customer service. And it was not only affecting me but also other customers in the store. As I finished bagging her items and handed her the receipt, she snatched the bags, and before she could leave, she turned back and said, "You'll regret this, you unprofessional little girl." And she tried to lunge at me, but was stopped by the local store owner, who was nearby and sternly told her, "Ma'am, you need to leave the store immediately. Your behavior is unacceptable, and physical violence will not be tolerated here." Karen didn't stop there. As she was being escorted out of the store, she started to drop items off the shelves and vandalizing the store. The store owner didn't hesitate and pulled out his rifle, pointing it towards her, and ordered her to stop and leave the store. She immediately dropped everything and ran out of the store without looking back. On her way out, she bumped into the town sheriff, who was just getting into the store by chance, and started crying to him. "Please help me! This crazy store owner tried to shoot me for no reason." The sheriff replied, "Ma'am, please calm down. I'm here to help you, but I need to hear both sides of the story. Can you tell me what happened?" Karen continued her rant. "I was just trying to shop and this crazy store owner was yelling at me and pointing a gun at me for no reason." The sheriff looked at her and then turned to the store owner. "Sir, what's happened here?" The store owner explained the situation calmly. "Sheriff, this lady was acting aggressively and vandalizing my store. I had to ask her to leave, and when she refused, I had to pull out my rifle to protect my property and my employees, including this young lady here," he said, pointing to me. The sheriff listened carefully, and after investigating the matter and taking statements from other customers that witnessed the whole thing, he quickly realized that the store owner was only defending himself and the store from Karen's destructive behavior. He ended up arresting her and pressing multiple charges against her, such as vandalism, assault, and disorderly conduct. The whole experience was shocking and difficult for everyone involved, including myself and the other customers in the store. But it's a reminder that sometimes we might encounter people with entitled attitudes, but that doesn't give them the right to harm or damage property or put others in danger, and that the community and the authorities will stand together to protect the peace and safety of everyone. This happened around 15 years back. I used to lead a back office process for a shared service center which was wholly owned by a major European telco. The offshore unit was based in India. One of the processes that we had was SIM activation, which was a manual process. New SIM card activation used to come in an Excel sheet which the team used to activate based on certain prerequisite checks. It was a 15-member team which worked 24/7. We came up with an idea to automate and using macros, and was able to automate almost 85 to 90% of the process. My stakeholder back in EU was happy, and we were able to redeploy 12 members to different units outside of my process. Couple months later, and here comes our new compliance head. As a part of his induction, we showed him our process, and he was quick to point out the automation and how it was not compliant since it was not made by IT. Anyone who has worked in corporate knows IT turnaround for simple automation. He made us shut down the automation and manually restart the process, and we had to raise a request to IT to automate this. This was a Friday. During the weekend, customer service received huge escalations and complaints. It was also not a good onboarding experience. The stakeholder was not happy and raised an escalation with the Indian management team. The head of compliance blamed us for not following the process. I had already briefed the stakeholder on what transpired, and he was supportive. After a week, we got the IT team coming back to us stating that the entire automation would be done in a month's time, and it would cost us around 20k pounds using RPA. So the original free automation would now cost an extra 20k. The stakeholder was really not happy with the experience and vowed to move the process to a third party. Eventually, within a year, my entire process moved to a third party who did the automation free of cost. While people got redeployed, it still cost the offshore until £1 million, which was the cost of my team every year. I chose to join the third party where the process moved, and while leaving dropped an email on how the impulsiveness of the compliance head cost us our reputation and loss of business. He eventually got fired after 8 months. So when I was pregnant with my son, I had hyperemesis gravidarum, really bad sickness, and a lot of food made me physically sick. Even the mention of them made me pray to God. I hated the smell of most cheeses and coffee, but worst of all was gravy. My ex-master-in-law used to make her Sunday dinner with chicken soup instead of gravy. So I thought I would be okay. I was so wrong. As soon as she found out that it made me ill, she started using gravy every single week. I know I can hear you asking, why didn't you stay away on a Sunday? There were a couple things that were happening at this time. My ex-husband was controlling and very manipulative. It wasn't until after we were separated and I was in therapy that I found out he was emotionally abusive towards me. He used to tell me if we didn't go to his parents, then I couldn't see my family. I even suggested him going alone, and he said he needed me to be with him in case anything happened to me and my baby. If we didn't go on Sunday, she would change the day and have the dinner the day we did go. Apparently, I couldn't cook a meal or clean, so she wanted to make sure her son had at least one good meal. She said she was in her 50s housewife mindset where women clean and cook and men relax. So she started making Sunday dinners with gravy every week, and I was so poorly. They would sit in the living room happily eating while I was being ill. I actually lost weight when I was pregnant. I felt really poorly, I couldn't even keep water down. I was actually on anti-sickness tablets and periodically in hospital on a drip to help me when I was too dehydrated. The icing on the cake was as soon as I was halfway through my third trimester, the aversion to foods went away and she stopped using gravy and started using chicken soup again. She only did it to make me feel bad. There is no other explanation for her actions. Her son wouldn't stand up for me because, as I found out when I was pregnant, he was his mama's boy. They had it till it was too late for me to leave. Me and my son are healthy and happy now. We haven't seen or heard from them in over 6 years. My son is now 12 and is thriving. I don't know what she was trying to accomplish, but in the long run, it didn't work. So, at the time of this story, I have been working in search and rescue for the county sheriff for several years, having been certified by the federal government as an emergency services manager. My plant manager was very happy to let me go whenever there was an emergency that required my assistance, as I was a 10-year employee and a hard worker. Then my plant manager goes on vacation and I received a page declaring a local emergency due to flooding. This is truly a life and death emergency. I contact the plant HR and tell her that I am leaving, not knowing the head of corporate HR is there and has a phone on speaker. Corporate HR proceeds to tell me if I leave, it's a job abandonment and I will be fired. I'm actually in the plant that day only to assist in epoxying the floor. The plant is shut down for holidays. I explain it is an emergency and the plant manager has always released me for emergencies requiring my presence. She stands firm, so I contact the search and rescue manager who promptly says it will be handled as soon as possible. Within minutes, I am called to the front office where the sheriff is on speakerphone. When the corporate HR lets him know I'm present, he then states if anyone interferes with my going to save lives, they will be arrested. He tells them that he will be faxing them the relevant state law, as well as a letter explaining my duties within search and rescue and glowing review of my service with the sheriff's department. He explained that these will go into my personnel file. Corporate HR may have a degree, but apparently no common sense. She starts to tell him, well, in Denver. But the sheriff cuts in to tell her that we are in Colorado, but she can take a vacation in county jail if she wishes. Needless to say, I was quickly out doing search and rescue duties. That was 10 years ago, but the corporate HR manager still shoots me dirty looks whenever she visits the plant. I just laugh. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.